everyone? You're watching Tatiana's Tiny Zoo. I'm Tatiana, and today we're going to be talking all about bioactive tanks, more specifically, the maintenance that's involved in keeping a bioactive setup. This video is going to be geared more towards somebody that's already set up their first bioactive enclosure, or someone that is looking to upgrade their current setups into a more bioactive or naturalistic enclosure. During my research of this keeping style, I found a lot of misconceptions about vivariums and bioactive enclosures, like how you never have to clean them or do any maintenance, but I'm here today to tell you that that's just not true. Now, don't get me wrong, once you have your bioactive tank set up and functioning, I do think it's still less work than a normal or sterile enclosure setup. However, there is still regular maintenance with these types of enclosures, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Believe me when I say I've set up a fair number of terrariums over the years that failed and simply did not thrive, and it took me all of those attempts to realize what I really needed in a bioactive enclosure to make it thrive and to make it a healthy ecosystem. Like the one you see behind me, which has been set up successfully for about 2 years. There are 3 main components to a bioactive vivarium that make it, well, bioactive, and those are substrate, plants, and of course the cleanup crew. And we're going to talk about all 3 of those different categories today and how to maintain them. Let's start with the substrate layer since it's the easiest to cover. As your tank becomes established, as the plants take root, and as the cleanup crew populations grow, you might notice your substrate levels starting to drop. This is due to a number of reasons. Sometimes your heavy-bodied pet can be compressing the substrate down, or over time, your established cleanup crew can start to eat away at the soil. When you notice a significant drop in substrate levels, it's time to add some new substrate to your tank. You should not have to do this more than once a year or every few years. This blue tongue skink enclosure has been set up for 2 years, and I only just had to put fresh substrate in. This new soil will add nutrients to the plants, more burrowing space for your reptiles, and a fresh food option for your cleanup crew. Now, let's talk about plants. Sometimes plants die. It's normal, and it happens to everyone. It's completely normal, especially during your first few attempts at making a bioactive, for you to pick out plants that simply won't thrive in a bioactive environment, and then they promptly die. Outside factors can also kill your plants, like your beefy skink falling on them one too many times, or a severe fungus gnat infestation forcing you to completely dry out your soil. After setting up your bioactive, it is always a good idea to wait a few weeks before you put your pet in, to give the plants time to take root. But don't feel bad if you have to replace a few plants here and there anyways. The opposite can also happen. Your plants could thrive. This is always awesome to see, and it means you're doing something right. But it also means that you have to take time to trim back some of the growth. Otherwise, they might take over your build. Ferns and pothos are both good examples of plants that need to be trimmed back regularly. The last thing you should know about plants in your bioactive vivarium is it wouldn't hurt to fertilize them occasionally. While your plants do get plenty of nutrients from broken down leaves and the feces of your animals, it's always a good idea to provide a variety of options so that your plants thrive. Once every few months, I'll mix up some organic seaweed fertilizer and water, and I'll use this to water my plants. It's always important to use fertilizer without added chemicals to prevent hurting your pets and your cleanup crew. Earthworm castings is another great option to mix into your soil. The last element that makes up your bioactive enclosure is your cleanup crew. These are the little custodians that you introduce to your enclosure that break down excess waste and allow the plants to absorb it as nutrients. They can be isopods, springtails, millipedes, beetles, earthworms, and more. While the cleanup crew does regularly clean up after my pets and eat the leaf litter I add to the tank, I like to feed them about once a week. Because who likes to eat every day, right? Fresh vegetables or a cleanup crew pre-made diet are both great options. I also noticed that it takes about a month for them to eat through the entire leaf litter layer. If the leaves run out, the cleanup crew will munch on your live plants as well, so make sure to add fresh leaves regularly. The last thing to know about the cleanup crew is that sometimes population booms can happen. While this might sound great, it can actually harm your tank in the long run. Too many isopods can destroy the roots of your plants and eat the leaves as well. Make sure you're monitoring your populations carefully and removing the excess when you see necessary. Well, that's pretty much all you need to know to maintain a healthy, bioactive ecosystem. Once a week, feed your cleanup crew. Once a week to once every other week, water your plants. Fertilize your plants a few times a year. And finally, add fresh substrate and give your plants a good trim as you see fit. Now that you have all of this knowledge, I want to know your opinion. Do you think bioactive enclosures are more or less easy to maintain than a simple, sterile, paper towel or tile environment for your reptiles? I think, especially in the reptile community, it's often presented as a low maintenance and super easy way to take care of your animals. Don't get me wrong, not having to clean up after your animals or regularly change the substrate is really nice. But it's not like these enclosures are a set it and forget it type of investment, and they also take a lot of work up front. I want to know what you think in the comments below, and if you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.